Well, Leon Edwards got beat by another grappler in his hometown, and this time there's no excuses. I don't want to hear any excuses from Leon Edwards. I'm sick and tired of hearing him having an excuse every single time he fights a grappler and it doesn't go his way. When he fought Kamaru Usman in Salt Lake City in the second fight after getting dominated, he was saying, "Oh well, it's because of the altitude. If there was no altitude, I would have beat him." And people were just buying that, and I was like, no. I feel like Leon Edwards before the fight, he was saying, "Oh, I'm gonna get ready. I'm gonna sleep in an elevation tent. I'm gonna do all these things to make sure I prepare and get ready and don't get affected by the altitude." And then after the fight, you switch up and you say, "Oh well, it's because of the altitude. If there's no altitude, I would have beat him." And then in the third fight, Usman was clearly gun shy. He had just got his lights put out by Leon, so of course he was going to be tentative. And Leon arguably got a draw in that one. He didn't really win that clear. In my opinion, it could have been a draw. It could have really been a draw. But then you move on to that Bilal Muhammad fight, and Leon gets dominated, and he knows going months ahead of the fight that it's going to be at 5 a.m. and he's like, "Oh, don't worry about it. I'm fighting Bilal Muhammad. I mean, who is Bilal Muhammad? And I'm going to get some experts to help me adjust to the time." And that was his excuse. His excuse was, "Oh, well, he wouldn't have beaten me if it wasn't at 5 a.m. And, people bought it again. And now, going into this fight, now his excuse, what's his excuse going to be? There is no excuse. He lost fair and square in his hometown. At an ideal time for him. He had a full training camp to prepare. Sean Brady had just got his first kid, and then he hopped on a plane and he came through in maybe 4 weeks notice, replacing JDM. Yes, you could say that Leon had a switch of an opponent from JDM to Sean Brady, a grappler, but at the same time, we haven't seen Leon in the octagon since July of 2024. So what has he been doing in that time frame? Has he been working on his grappling because he just lost his fight due to grappling? Was he working on that? No. Who knows what he was doing, but he clearly wasn't working on his grappling because he didn't really consider that a real loss. When you have an excuse for something, when you say, "Oh, well, this happened because of that," you're not going to improve because you're not really looking at the real reason why that thing happened. If Leon really sat down with his coaches and he was like, "Wow, Kamaru Usman really just dominated me, and what if I didn't land that head kick? I gotta fix this, I gotta fix that, X, Y, and Z," and then you get significantly better. But Leon, he's been making these excuses after almost all his fights, and he's essentially been the same fighter. Now he finally fought a grappler with a submission threat, and he got choked out. But to be honest, I was a bit more surprised at Leon's fight IQ. In certain moments, and also I was surprised that Leon was getting tagged on the feet pretty easily by Sean Brady, considering that he was gonna fight Jack Della Maddalena, and if Jack Della Maddalena would have tagged Leon up with some of the shots that Sean Brady was hitting Leon with, and by the way, Sean Brady was not really setting up his shots. Leon would, control his hand, and then maybe Sean Brady would throw a kick, and then he would just go right away for an attack, kind of, disturbing the regular rhythm, because usually it's okay, I'm going to throw a strike, I'm going to reset, I'm going to move a bit, and then I'm going to strike again. But Sean Brady, even at the start of one round, he completely rushed Leon. He barraged him for a bunch of strikes, and then he pushed him back and got a takedown, and Leon wasn't really expecting that rhythm. So anyway, Sean Brady kind of did, do a good job of manipulating the rhythm of his strikes, and that was what led him to land so cleanly on Leon. And I feel like JDM would have knocked him out, considering how easily Sean Brady was able to tag him up. And then next up at 170, now we have a bit of a weird situation because Shafkat's out, and JDM and Bilal are going to fight. Hopefully the winner of that fight can, get 2 more fights in after that. It's going to be a tough ask, but at the very least, we need at least 1 more welterweight title fight. Who knows? I think it should still be Shafkat, considering that he was the original one that was supposed to fight Bilal. So let's have Shafkat be next. Bring in Sean Brady as a backup. He's going to be next to the belt in 2026. Maybe he can spend time with his new daughter, so give him some time off. And then he gets a title shot after if Bilal beats JDM and Bilal fights Shafkat, the winner of that fight, then they can fight Sean Brady. And for Leon Edwards, I mean, you know, man, I don't think he's going to be selling out any shows in the UK. I mean, there's fans leaving the arena before, like, the end of the fight. So, I don't know. I don't think you can put him as a headliner. Maybe you can put him on the undercard of John Jones and Tom Aspinall card, considering that Tom Aspinall is going to bring in that UK audience. And maybe you can do Leon versus maybe a striker to give him a break and maybe see how good his striking really is. And then in the co-main event, Carlos Solberg beat Jan Blachowicz, and I felt like that was a really close fight. I wasn't really too sure how the judges were gonna score because, you know, most of the strikes that were landed were jabs and leg kicks, and you know, both guys weren't really like throwing that many combinations. They're both, you know, staying very safe, not you know, making a lot of mistakes. And it was a very technical fight. I feel like Olberg did a good job of moving and you know, trying to catch Jan coming in, but Jan he has a solid defense and he wasn't really getting cracked with anything. I'm surprised though that Jan didn't really, you know, try to implement his grappling as much. You know, it seemed like he was doing good on the feet, but maybe if he was mixing up some wrestling, maybe he could have had more openings to land on the feet. But maybe his wrestling gets him a bit tired, as we saw, like with Pereira. He did start to slow down, and when Magomed was offensive wrestling him, it seemed like Jan was also starting to slow down. But I feel like, yeah, that was a good win for Carlos Solberg. I don't think he should get a title shot after this fight. I feel like him versus Yuri is the next fight to make. Hopefully it's a 5-round fight, and why not keep Carlos Solberg busy? You know, he didn't really take that much damage, and I'm hearing that there's going to be a card in June, apparently a headline by Pantoja and Kaikar France. Olberg and Kaikar are teammates, so why not have them on the same card and bring in Yuri as a 5-round co-main event, or maybe as a feature fight, and then you can have Kayla Harrison versus Juliana Pena, so then you have a pretty solid card. Also on this card, we saw Molly McCann get submitted in 1 round, which wasn't surprising at all. Then she took her gloves off and decided to retire, and that was a good choice because, I mean, like, it's like I feel like I've seen Molly McCann get submitted 5 times in the first round. Like, it's not looking good, and if she ever wants to be a champion, like, that is tough. You can't be taking that many losses in the exact same fashion. But yeah, it's yeah, good on her. And then her opponent looked pretty good, Alexia Thegnara. She was very excited about her debut. You know, you can see in her entrance, she was taking in the moment. The commentators were like, "Oh, get in the octagon, get in the octagon." But like, I mean, just enjoy the moment. You're never ever gonna have a UFC debut ever again, so why not make the most out of it? It was, you know, she clearly had a lot of energy, and yeah, you know, she just had her moment. And then there was Jordan Vucenic versus Chris Duncan, and this fight was a bit weird. I thought Jordan Vucenic was gonna win, but he got dropped in round 1, and then he got dominated on the ground for the rest of the round. And then round 2, it seemed like he started to piece up Chris Duncan for a bit. But I guess he's probably like friends or training partners with Leon Edwards, because he goes for a takedown on someone who's clearly better than him in that aspect. And Leon Edwards did the exact same thing. He always does it. Like, he always tries to take down these guys that clearly have an advantage over him, and it never goes his way, but he doesn't learn. And I guess
the guy's a little retarded. He's got a little.
But then we had Kevin Holland actually beating Gunnar Nelson, and that was, I'm glad that Kevin Holland got that victory, because Gunnar Nelson, most of what he was doing was controlling him and doing no damage, not attempting any submission. And we don't want to see that type of grappling in MMA. We want to see, you know, action. We want to see submission threats, you know, attacks, movement, not just stalling. And yeah, Kevin Holland did a good job. He nearly knocked him out at the end of the first round. And after that, I was like, okay, Kevin Holland's winning that fight, because Gunnar Nelson had him on the ground in the first round when Kevin Holland is not sweating at all, and when Gunnar's at his best, but he couldn't finish him. And you know, that wasn't going to go his way after that. And yeah, Kevin Holland did a good job of getting back on the winning column. And also we had Nathaniel Wood beat Morgan Charrier, and yeah, the prospect looked good. Nathaniel Wood, he looked like he had the far better hands. He was just clean with his technique, and in this fight he looked like a real featherweight. Before he did look a bit small compared to some of the other guys that he was going up against, but he looked like a real featherweight in this one, and he looked powerful, sharp, and he could actually be a serious threat to the guys in this weight class, because Morgan Charrier is a very, very good striker and a good fighter, and beating him like that was pretty impressive. Now, all he needs is the finishes, but I'm sure that's going to come. But overall, this was a good fight night card. It's just disappointing seeing Leon Edwards lose like that again, and I this time I really don't want to hear any excuses from this guy. Like, he just got to accept that he lost to the better fighter, and if he does, then he'll for sure come back better. But let me know your guys' thoughts down below. Thank you guys for watching. God bless, and I'll see you in the next one.
Leon, you're a waste man.